Hi, this is Lynn Wendt, and welcome to Generational Gold. I'm going to talk about the power of legacy stories. First, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, my journey from being a writer to a ghostwriter. Since 1962, and I received my first creative writing assignments in grade school, I have always considered myself to be a writer. I've written fiction, memoir, poetry, essay, and I've always thought of myself as a writer. And my writing groups have gone on for 40 years. My career started in information technology because my father had a data processing service bureau when I was growing up. So after college, I worked for Allstate was my first job, and I've worked for big corporations. I started as a computer programmer, and after 40 years, I ended as a project and program manager for complex software systems. I delivered complex software development projects. I also became very involved with the Project Management Institute as a global think tank member, and I achieved many certifications and higher level degrees, including my MBA. In 2020, I left corporate America, as they say, and I joined my son's real estate brokerage, a boutique brokerage in Lakeview, right near Cubs Park in Chicago. And I was there for about 12 years. Originally, I just came on to help with the foundational processes, but I got the bug and I got my broker's license and then my managing broker's license, and I was the designated managing broker for several years, for about 8 years. And it was there that I honed my skills on helping people achieve their dreams, which is something I didn't do in corporate America. It was much more political, and there were many more handoffs. But in real estate, I got to work directly with clients and learn about them and help them achieve their goals. When I left real estate in 2021, I kept my license, and my license is up to date, but I was looking for something where I could bring all my skills forward, and it could last me 10 or 15 years. I love writing, and I decided to be a ghostwriter for entrepreneurs. I have many businesses, family businesses that I've participated in. And I have my MBA, and I have my project management skills, and I have my writing skills, and I have my one-on-one working with people skills. And I decided to be a ghostwriter for entrepreneurs. Two types of product. One is a legacy product for people who want to tell their business stories, their small business, family business stories, and leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren. The other is for entrepreneurs who want to grow and for whom having a book with their content will help increase their visibility, their viability, their value proposition. It's not that you would think that you would make a lot of money from your book, but by writing a book, it gives you a lot of extra credibility in whatever business you're in. Right now, I am focusing on real estate and real estate brokers. And in 2024, I will have worked with my first year clients and published their books. And I'm also working on my own book. But what I'm passionate about is helping families tell their business stories, and I'll tell you why. Those who tell the stories rule the world. Now, why would you want to create generational gold? To leave a family legacy, to leave a business legacy, or to inspire others are three top reasons. Family legacy, you might want to consider writing a book to preserve your family history, capturing the business journey that ensures that future generations understand what it took for you to build this business. You might want to strengthen family bonds, current or those future bonds of people that you might not meet, grandchildren and great grandchildren, but to whom this book will have a great impact. You might want to honor past generations of people who are no longer with us, but their stories you feel in your heart for your family should be told. Um, Building a business involves values and ethics, and you might want to share those values with future generations. and building a sense of identity, a continuity across generations. A legacy worth sharing. Family businesses carry stories of perseverance, resilience, and tradition that span generations. These narratives interweave personal journeys and the evolving fabric of communities persevering in valuable cultural heritage. So that's one reason why or some reasons why you might want to share your legacy story. My own inspiration was a memoir that my great grandfather wrote, 50 Years in the Wool and Fur Trading Business by Marcus Harris. I've had this memoir in my possession uh, since I've been 10 years old, and I've cherished it at different points in my life for different reasons. But now that I'm starting another business and working with entrepreneurs and understanding exactly what he was trying to do with this memoir, I am encouraging other people who have small family businesses to write their stories. It means a lot. He was in the wool and fur trading business, so there's stories about fur trade. It was in the Wild West, Dodge City. They had a shop there. So you think of fur trading on wagon trains. You think of mountain men doing the trapping. You think of wool trading posts, which they had in Dodge City, and it was he and his brother Ben who ended up with a multi-million-dollar business in St. Louis that they started in the late 1800s, and it's an enthralling story. Um, so as I read the memoir, there's so many family stories that pop out at me. There's the fact that he was 12 years old and going to neighboring towns and doing deals with his wares, with his on behalf of his father and his brother Ben, and how he walked home the 4 miles to save the 15-cent train fare. There's perseverance, like in World War I, when the government sequestered all of their product, and that set them back several years, but they were patriotic, and that's what they did. Um, there was the family stories around Christmas, where his 6 children and their children would gather, and it just gave me such a warm feeling. I could almost envision being there. And then one story that I love is 1940, when he was 70 years old. He decided that he was able-bodied and knew a lot, and so he was too young to retire. So he started a second iteration of his business after his brother Ben passed away, and with his 4 adult daughters. And I just love that. I had met them earlier in my life, and now I so regret not talking to them about being in business with their father and what it took and how the family dynamics went. There's so many stories that are left untold, but you know, we have some stories from those times. So the pillars of his business success you can extrapolate from his short little memoir that he actually wrote mostly to help men who are coming along in that business and give them tips and impart what he had learned. But there's perseverance, there's vision, ongoing vision, there's adaptability, as I talked about with the World War I example. There's family values that was at the heart of it because he was in business with his best friend and brother Ben. And relationships. He emphasized throughout the memoir the importance of relationships with his employees, with sheep herders. He was a global marketer, so he had many relationships abroad, and he traveled abroad a lot. So relationships were at the heart of what he believed was important for business. So, as I talked about, he was preserving his family history by the stories and traditions and the storytelling, the passage of the storytelling from one generation to another. There was a business legacy that was involved. He showcased his business evolution, demonstrated longevity, enhanced a brand story, um, attracted investors, which they did several times, and preserved intellectual capital. So those are reasons, the family legacy, why you might want to consider writing your story about your business. And it was a business, I'm sure, fraught with economic upheaval and family values and politics and success and failures. And it's your legacy. It's a story, that you might be very proud to tell. So for those reasons, you consider writing about your business legacy. And just as my grandfather did, to inspire others who are coming after him and unbeknownst to him, great grandchildren. It provides a role model. You be encouraging innovation. The technology that you had to run your business might have been innovative for the time. So it doesn't mean that people want to go back to that technology, but they'll understand your vision and that technology should be embraced. Once again, you highlight perseverance, and that inspires others during their down times, and promote mentorship, and create a legacy of leadership, which is really inspirational for future generations. So you want to write your story. We want to talk about, if you do want to write your story, we want to talk about the journey, the foundation, the pathway to writing, pathway to publishing, and then a recap. So your journey is all about storytelling. It involves kind of your initial concept, who your audience is going to be. Will it be your children and grandchildren and so forth, or will it move over to a larger, greater commercial reach? In which case, you might want a different kind of publisher. It involves information gathering from if you work with a ghostwriter, there might be many hours of interviews, and you might suggest other people than yourself to interview, and gathering all of the information, researching your facts and data, um, getting pictures and whatever supporting documents you want together. And then you start with the narrative development. So basically, if you're working with a ghostwriter or writing it yourself, you would consider maybe two drafts. The first draft is really sort of ugly. It kind of gets the concepts down. It's your beta draft, and that's the draft that you send out to your family and friends for input, because after a certain point, you just don't want to, it's inefficient to keep getting input from people. So you want to kind of have that time boxed, and then we create a second draft that really flows nicely and says everything that you want to say. But if it's going to be professionally published, like through a hybrid publisher, and even if you're going to create a family legacy book that's self-published, you want to consider different levels of editing, so it's as professional as possible. Professional line, copy editing, and proofreading. You'd want to have it set up, formatted, and in a polished way, and a cover design, and perhaps a publication and ISBN number. So those are all things to consider after the draft is written. But any ghostwriter you work with would have plenty of suggestions for how you would go about marketing or putting the back end of the book together, and then marketing it, or just putting it on Amazon and having it print in demand. So that's a little bit about the storytelling journey. There's really four foundations, I think, to writing a book. And one is to really determine who your ideal reader is. A lot of times people think everybody will be interested in your story, and that might well be the case. But when you're writing the book, it's kind of a North Star to say, who am I writing this for? Who is my ideal reader? Is it me when I was a young person? Is it my grandchild who I know very well? Is it future generations? Is it people in the business now? So you really have to consider who you are writing the book for. The other is to tell stories. As I said, that's really kind of the heart of it, because that's where people will be able to identify and have the emotional connection by the stories you tell about the people you know. You want to determine what your ROI is. So if you're writing this as a legacy book, your ROI might not be monetary. It just might be inspiring future generations or having more people in your family know about your business and your story. And I always advise to think about reusing content. Now, if you're not publishing it and going to promote it on social media, that's less of an important foundation, but it is something to consider. So your pathway to writing a book is to, once again, identify your target audience, develop a compelling narrative, write it, and work with a ghostwriter. If you work with a ghostwriter, you might spend 15 or 20 hours of interview time where you will have a transcript, and they will take the book and write the book in your voice. That's the whole point of a ghostwriter. And when you publish it, they have nothing to do with their name isn't on the cover. It's you writing the book. They have just interviewed and transcribed and put the format of the story together in a compelling way. You can also write a book, but you would have to commit many, many more hours to doing that than you would having it ghostwritten. You want to receive feedback, and as I said, edit the cover design and proofread it and format it and publish or self-publish, whatever you choose to do. The path to publishing is about the same. You want to identify your target audience. You want to develop a compelling narrative. You want to consider how you're going to publish, probably at the beginning of the process or close to the beginning, whether you're going to self-publish or hybrid publish. Traditional publishing is doable. The timeline is much longer and it's much more competitive because you need an agent. You have to have the whole concept of the book and laid out in a proposal, and you have to have written several chapters, and then you run the risk because it is so competitive that nobody will pick up your book. If they do pick it up, you still do have to have skin in the game. So you wouldn't anticipate for these kinds of books to make a lot of money from the book. You want to leverage your book in terms of brand recognition and attract whoever it is you want to attract, and monitor the book's performance. But in this case, we might be talking about small, 100-page, 80 to 100-page memoirs, which can have a huge impact on people in the current generation or future generations. I'm going to use my great-grandfather as an example. He wrote this memoir. He couldn't have envisioned me, or that he would have a great-granddaughter who was a writer who would pick it up and be inspired to inspire other people to reach out and touch their families. And so by writing this one short memoir, he could end up having an impact on many businesses for a long time. So I think that's very beautiful. So the benefits, as we talked about, of sharing your story are to inspire future generations, fostering your community connections, preserve your rich history and values, and brand building and differentiation depending on your goal with your book. So we talked about family legacy, business legacy, and inspiration, all reasons why you'd want to write a book. We talked about the pathway and the foundations and the step to writing a book and the steps to publishing a book. And I'll leave you with this. A writer doesn't want of riches or fame, even though those aren't bad things. An authentic writer wants to leave behind a part of themselves, something that can withstand the test of time and can do so through generations. And I think that is what inspires all of us to write these stories about our family businesses. I have 12 years of real estate experience. I have 40 years of business experience. I've been involved in many entrepreneurial efforts, and I have my MBA. And I've worked with clients one-on-one to achieve those very emotional, important dreams of theirs in terms of buying a house. So I would be a good person to collaborate with if you just have a few questions about the process or just kind of want to run things by me. That's just fine. You don't have to call me and say, hey, I want my book ghostwritten. I just want to help people tell their stories that they might not thought thought of or might never have thought that they could do as well. I think that's so important and gratifying. So I do walk my talk. I am writing a book, so you want to write a book. What's next? That should be published probably by the end of the year, first quarter next year. So I thank you all very much for your time, and I wish you all the best.